make 20, 30%, some 40% more on their job. That is life changing. I was told this over and over and over. So I was like, the next job, the next opportunity, I will get this piece of paper.
I heard 20 to 40% pay increase, 30 days to complete, and just come in with the right mindset. You already have some of the soft skills to get it done. Well, welcome back to the 5 Minute Career Hack Podcast. My name is Jamila Brown, and we have an incredible guest for you here today. It's actually a special treat for me because we spent some time at the same university back in our college years at Xavier University here in New Orleans. And so it's great to connect with someone that spent some time in my home area as well as the college that I attended. We've got none other than Tamara Macklemore with us here today. And we're going to jump right into what she's here to talk about today that I think will bless so many people and potentially change the trajectory of their career. So if you're planning and you want to make a pivot in your career or you're looking for more, no matter what your profession is, this is the episode for you. So let's get right into it. Welcome to the podcast, Tamara. How are you doing today?
I am absolutely great. I am super excited to share some gems with your audience. So let's get it started. I've been waiting on this one. I've been waiting on this.
I have too. I know we had to do a quick reschedule the last time, but I was so excited to talk to you because there's so many people that I believe that I've talked to in the past that would have benefited from your program. So I want to make sure anybody that I come across in the future and anyone listening that I've had the privilege of working with can tap into this information because I think it's going to be life changing for some people. So my first question for you today is, what is a PMP certification and who is it really for?
So the PMP certification is the Project Management Professional certification, and it is for everybody. So traditionally, it used to be for people in tech, IT, the military, government, but right now it is for everyone. Literally, I have executive admins, I have people in education, healthcare. Like you said, we went to Xavier University. I have a ton of friends that are doctors and pharmacists, and guess what? They're getting their PMP certification as well. I have people in sales and marketing, finance, HR. Hopefully, I didn't leave anybody out, but it is for every career, for everyone to get their PMP certification because of the tools that it has. So, you know that toolbox that we have in the hall closet, you know, that nice, pretty toolbox. And you always pull out the same tools, the wrench, the hammer, the screwdriver. But every once in a while, you get some furniture that you're like, okay, the little tool that came with it is not working. The tools that I normally go to don't work, and you get that drill with the drill bits. That's what the PMP certification. It gives you other tools in your repertoire of your career to effectively and efficiently manage a project or initiative or those other duties assigned. And so it just makes us more marketable. It gives us raises, promotions. Girl, I can go on and on and on. But to answer the question real short, the PMP certification is for everyone. It is for everyone.
Okay, so it's the project manager certification. Is that
Yes, it's the PMP, the Project Management Professional certification.
okay?
Yes.
I didn't know what the other P stood for. Okay, so
Yes.
perfect. So it's the project manager professional certification. Got
Yes,
that
ma'am.
down. Awesome. So what would that certification allow me to do if I had one?
So it would allow you to go from any industry that you want to. So everybody's using that term on LinkedIn, pivot, reinvent themselves, change, all that. It would allow you. So you can be in education and pivot to the tech space. Now, let me be very clear. I'm not saying you're going to go to a tech company and code the next day. I'm not saying that. However, if you're in education, let's give an example, and you were responsible or you were on the team to identify a new curriculum vendor. That's a project from beginning to end, from the time you were told you need to pick a curriculum vendor, from the time you narrowed it down to about three, you implemented maybe to one of the elementary schools or a certain grade, and then the school district decided to purchase it for the whole school district and then implement it. That's a project. So I have so many people realize a project, you start from the beginning to the end, unique product or service. And so I don't want to get too technical, but hopefully that example of a teacher lets you know that you can pivot and change to project management. So like I said, this is for everyone. I have people in finance that they're doing the numbers. But guess what? That's one of the largest part of project management is finance, is managing the budget. So half the battle is done for them. They already have a substantial amount of information and tools that they already need to be a project manager. That's what I help people realize.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love the example of the teacher because there's projects in everybody's job, but how do you accentuate that to pivot to a new industry or gain access to a new role or higher paying job? So
Absolutely.
how long does it take to get your project manager certification?
So here in these internet streets is what I call it. People will have you believing it takes a year. Every time I get on the call, I ask the same question because I want to see where people's mind is at. And they normally say 8 months to a year. Well, I'm like, you didn't get the memo from Beyonce years ago that we outside? You didn't get that memo? My people, it takes 30 days or less. I am going to say that again, 30 days or less, because I have perfected the whole process. And in full transparency, I failed not once, but twice. And so I use everything that I have used to pass and be successful. I have created my own secret sauce, and we have eliminated all those extra tools that you don't need. And you can pass this. Most people pass within 2 weeks, but I say give it a good 30 days.
So, and I love the transparency because, standardized testing isn't everybody's game. I know it wasn't mine. I tell people all the time, I think the ACT, I think it goes to like 36, 40 or something like that. And I got a 10 in the reading section, right? On the ACT. Now I ended up with a high 20 overall score, but imagine if I hadn't gotten a 10. Now, I don't think that's impacted my life in any way, shape, or form, right?
E-
So, love the
exactly.
transparency. So, thank you for sharing that. And then ultimately, sometimes your best teacher is instances like that when you're able to break down a process, weed out all the stuff you don't need, which is a lot of the stuff that you have to study
A
that they
lot.
tell you have to study, right? So it sounds like that secret sauce is right up my alley because I just want to get A to B. I don't want all
Exactly.
the I want to get A to B and feel competent, right? That at least me
Absolutely.
personally.
Absolutely. And not only do people pass the first time and quickly, guess what? They show up different. Meaning the second and the third day of the boot camp, they're going into the office saying, whoa, 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 we need to slow this project down. We need to bring the business in. We need to bring the general public in. We need to gather more requirements. And people are looking at them like, you've been here for 10 years. You've never said that. Because guess what? Now you know better, you're going to do better. And so what I call it is we're going to quit our 5 to 9. You know what a 5 to 9 is?
Mhm. I
When,
mean, I
when,
believe. Define your 5 to 9.
is when we log on from 9 to 5, and then we take a little break, and then we log back on from five
Man.
5 to 9 p.m. We're not doing that anymore. And so this helps you do your 8 hours, 9 if you have to, and just be done with your job and work really effectively and efficiently in managing these projects. So women are getting raises, promotion, and let me say this, significant raises, significant promotions, and they're doing their work quicker. It's like, get the PMP certification.
So you call it your 5 to 9, and in the industry that I came from, there was no 9 to 5. You pretty much just worked around the clock. So we didn't get a distinction in the like that's a blessing to even say, "Oh, I get off at 9 and then I do a little work at home." No, you're just expected to work around the clock in retail. So I love that distinction. So that's why I'm happy you defined it. And then you hit on something that was going to be my next question because I know you're laser focused on supporting women to get this. So tell me a little bit more about why you chose to focus and niche down there.
So, long story short, but social media, it could be your friend or not. So, somebody was in my inbox years ago and they asked me, how could I travel to so many countries? At that time, I was going to Dubai all the time, to different countries in Europe, just me and my husband traveling. And I thought they were being, nosy all up in my business. But it was one particular IM, she was a high school friend. It was genuine. She was really asking, how do you travel? And that's code for how can you afford to travel? And and so since she was an associate, we got on a call and I explained to her how me and my husband were able to have a savings account and do that. But then everybody else was asking me, and my question to them was, how come you can't travel?
Ooh.
You should be making just as much money or more than me doing what you're doing. How come you can't? Come to find out, people were not asking for raises. Women, we already know we're substantially underpaid. I would ask every woman, when was the last time you asked for a raise?
Now you're talking my
Crickets.
language. You talking my language.
When was the last time you asked for a raise? And almost 10 out of 10 would say they have never asked. Blew me away. Blew me away. So there's so much that contributes to this wage gap, so much that is out of our control. But there's so much that's in our control. And this PMP certification, it gives you the confidence, it gives you the tools. It is required by a lot of organizations, even to get the job in the interview. And it gives you the increase. It gives you, my women, they make 20, 30%, some 40% more on their job. That is life changing. That is life changing. I have two clients now that are interviewing. If, no, I'm going to say when they get this new
There you go.
opportunity,
Win.
their salary is going to double. Double.
That's
That's what
amazing.
this certification does. That's what this certification does.
It's like you said, secret sauce at the beginning, and I know in these internet streets people hear that a lot, but that's tangible. That for women that are listening, and I imagine you don't discriminate. You'll allow a man to come through, or you do.
A few good men. My husband said, he said this was the reverse YouTube movement. He was like, you cannot discriminate against men. So men are welcome. I love the different perspective that they bring to the table, because a lot of times when I'm saying things, women look at me like I got three eyes. And
Mhm.
men will say, "Oh, Tamara's absolutely correct," because I ask for a raise every 6 months. So when we started to have those conversations in the boot camp, then they're saying, "Okay, Tamara, you are telling the truth because the man has co-signed it." That's a shame that they have to co-sign what I'm saying.
Oh man, that's a shame. That's a shame. But I appreciate you allowing them in because
Yes,
I know there's some that are listening that can benefit from this as well. And I appreciate the focus there because you're doing the part that you can control in
yes,
order to help others, decrease that wage gap for themselves. So I know like we can't change it all in one, right? We got to
no,
change it for ourselves. And then
right.
if there's somebody, our community, our tribe, which is an extension of your boot camp, you can help change it for more people and then they can change it for others. So you're definitely doing your part. So we appreciate you for that.
Thank
So
you. Thank.
if I'm a teacher, a doctor, in my case, I was a retail director or some HR managers. I know we have a lot of HR managers that watch us.
Yes.
Why should I get the PMP certification? And what mindset shift do you have to guide your clients through in order to understand that this is for them too?
So you see how excited I am about this question. Me and my program manager was just talking about this morning. Mindset is everything. Even before you step in the boot camp, we're having a conversation. I want to know why you want this PMP certification. It cannot just to put some commas behind your name. It can't be because your boss wants you to do it. You have to want to show up different. You have got to actually, you know what? It is time for a change in my career. I'm looking my third quarter, my fourth quarter. I want to, quit that job and consult, whatever that is you want to do, pivot, transition. You have to have the mindset to say, I am ready for a change. Once a woman has a plan, ooh we, ooh we. So you
Ooh,
change that mindset, and we put that plan together and we execute. We execute it just like you would do anything on your job. And let me say this, you just mentioned HR. Your listeners will be very surprised. The new PMP certification since COVID, since about 2021-ish or two-ish, the exam is 43% on people.
wow.
Wow is right. So you have your hard skills and your soft skills, better known as your power skills, your HR skills. So what PMI is saying, they have surveyed all the Fortune 500, 100, nonprofit, that's another industry, healthcare, government, all the companies, to say the project managers are amazing with the hard skills. But these power skills, managing people, managing resources, performance evaluation, all of that, we sucked at it. So now we're learning these skills. So for your listeners that are in HR or some of the other areas, guess what? They already know half of the curriculum. It's HR, it's people management. So all they have is like less than half to go.
So that's so interesting because I had a follow-up question that I didn't know if I was going to have time to ask, and you introduced it. So just like introducing evidence in the courtroom, so now it must be asked. So if you could give me the top 2 soft skills that someone wouldn't possess, because I would imagine that just about everybody listening already has them when you say them, and I don't even know what you're going to say. But what would be the top 2 in your opinion that they would need to have in going into this and be a rock star like you said?
Well, this is my secret sauce, and I learned this early in my career before imposter syndrome came out. I was like, why am I getting all these promotions? And I mean quick promotions every 3 months, every 6 months for the first 5 years of my career. And that secret sauce, one of those softer power skills, is communication. And
So
little known fact, I have a journalism degree from Xavier University. So I have a degree in communication. So that's why I'm so good at project management, because you got to communicate up, down, and sideways. That means to the executives, to your team, to the warehouse, to the general public, to your team. You have to communicate all the way around. So that's one of the top skills. And let me tell you, this is for extroverts and introverts. It does not matter how you communicate. The next skill I would say, besides communication, is just being open, having an open mind, that agile skill set, being able to change and pivot and just understand that what we set out to do today is not necessarily what we're going to do in 6, 7, 8, 9 months. So I would say for me, those are the biggest skills that I see a lot of people who don't even know those are the top project management skills that we already possess. And that is just a couple. There's so many more. That's just two.
well, and I like I said, I knew that the 2 that you would mention that most would already possess in an effort to see themselves. I want everyone listening to start to see themselves doing this because it could be foreign, right? I'm being educated right now. A lot of this stuff is very foreign to me as you're educating me on this certification. And so I imagine it's foreign to them as well. And that's oftentimes what keeps people from taking the next step is that it's the unknown, the fear of the unknown,
I know.
right?
Absolutely.
And so what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes people make or some of the things that you have to help them overcome from a fear standpoint? What are some of those mistakes they make when they're going after the certification?
They're in their mind, and you just said it, they assume. So we know what's the acronym for assume. We already know what happens. So don't do that. Like, ask a question and don't ask it to the internet. Like, don't go Google University, because here's the problem with Google University, and I'm a big fan. No shade on any of these platforms, but a lot of the information is old and outdated. It's not wrong, it is old and outdated. So if you have a question, ask an expert. I have free consults on my website. I know we're going to get that information out, but ask an expert. Go to PMI's website. They have the information. Everybody, well, I heard it here and I Googled that. Wrong answer. So that's the first thing. And then just understanding that you are the prize, regardless if you have the certification or not. When I'm speaking, everybody thinks that you have to get the certification, and I'm pushing certifications. But I will tell you, it is not for everyone, but you do need to understand the upskilling and the lessons you will learn. That's why you want to investigate. So get out your own way, check your mindset, and ask an expert.
So I heard 20 to 40% pay increase, 30 days to complete, and just come in with the right mindset. You already have some of the soft skills to get it done. That's what I heard you
Yes.
say today, right?
That is, girl, that is it. And let me tell you, we have a good time. My
I could
husband is like,
tell.
"Are y'all in there having a good time?" We have a couple boot camps where we had DJs. So during the boot camp, we playing old school hip hop. We doing all kind of shenanigans. We exchanging recipes. Oh, and of course, half the people that in the boot camp are hiring managers or their companies are
Mm.
hiring. So people are getting referrals that way to jobs that aren't even posted. So when I say the benefits, there's a laundry list of benefits, though, but that's just a couple of the benefits.
Which are amazing. So I do personally want to hear a little bit more about your journey to this point, right? So we're at Xavier University around 96, 97, and so how did you land here to where you're teaching others how to get this certification? Tell us about your
So
career.
So the short of it is, I did what I was told to do. So back in the day, now we want to examine, we want to, vet things, we want to do a poll, ask people that don't even care about us or know about us, what should I do? I don't do all that. My aunt told me to get into technology because that's what she was in. Back in the day, she worked for MCI WorldCom, and she was like, "You need to get in tech." She was like, "You got that little degree, that don't mean nothing. That's just a piece of paper. You need to get in the field that is going to take you far." And that's what I did. It was as simple as that. I got hired on as Ericsson. I moved up really quickly. I worked for the federal government. I've been a contractor with Delta Airlines. I worked on a project with Deloitte. You name it, I've done it. But what I do know is I had an undergrad degree and I had an MBA. And during the last recession, I could not get a job. And I would go to the third, fourth, fifth interview. They would actually call me back. This is the old days when they called you back to say you didn't get the job. And you know you got that call back. He's like, I got the job. You did not. But let me tell you the part that hurt. They would tell me that the person I was going up against, the only thing that they had above me was the PMP certification. But that didn't hurt. The part that hurt is they didn't even have a degree, let alone an MBA.
Wow.
Exactly. I was told this over and over and over. So I was like, the next job, the next opportunity, I will get this piece of paper because no longer will I not be in the category in the running just because of a piece of paper. And that is the weight that the PMP certification has. It has weight.
And I think that's so interesting because I'm all degreed up over here too. And and don't get me wrong, there's value in education. So I'm not
Yes.
saying there's not value in education, and it was a great incubator in undergraduate,
Yes.
but at the same time, to your point, just like Google University, some of that information too gets outdated, right? And to
Yes.
me, this PMP seems as though it's a companion for real-time implementation.
There you go. And the tools are steadily being adjusted and pivoted. And the new exam is 50% agile, which that's what everybody's doing. They're either doing waterfall, the traditional method, agile, or we call it wagile, the wild, wild west, but that's just a hybrid. They're doing a little bit of both. And that's what companies are doing now. So you as a project manager or somebody that's leading an initiative, you need to know all the methodology. And so that's what the certification provides you.
Yeah, and I think that's excellent because I most of the clients that come to me are also very degreed up, right? And have all this extra stuff, and then sometimes are even thinking about going get another degree. And I'm just like, don't do it. Like,
Don't
and
do
I
it.
hate to tell people like
I
not to get
know.
education, but at the same time, like you said at the beginning, why do you want those letters, right? Why do you want that certification? Why do you want that degree? It's no different. And what do you think it's going to get you? And then let's go make sure it gets you that before you do it. Now, if
Absolutely.
you're going to do brain surgery, you better go get that education and do your
Please.
residency. Like I need you to but if it's just that you want a pay raise, you want to change your lifestyle, let's really map out a career strategy that makes sense for you versus tacking on more degrees and potentially student loans. That's
Absolutely.
my philosophy. So I love what you said there about the PMP and how it's real time for me.
Yeah. And let me add this. You just mentioned healthcare. I have nurses, doctors, and pharmacists that get their PMP. Because guess what? They don't want to practice anymore. They want to move up in management. And so, in order to move up in management, they have to have a strategic bird's eye view. They have to know how to manage a budget, implementation, quality, risk management, all the tools in the PMP certification. So, once they retire or want to pivot or change, they too must get the PMP certification. And you know they don't want to go back to school.
That after the years that they've done, I haven't even done that amount and I don't want anything to do with another degree. So I can't imagine, their disdain or lack thereof energy to want to go get another degree. So it makes sense. And oftentimes what I hear them say is I need to go get something in healthcare administration,
Yes,
right, in order to combat that.
correct. And this is quicker. And I've had so many conversations that say, well, if I go back and get something in healthcare administration, that's almost an MBA, or it is, when you can get this in 30 days or less. So what would you choose?
Look, give me the 30 days and let's get on with this, right? Because it's about getting from point A to point B
Yeah,
without spending too much money and or your time, which I think your time is probably the most valuable thing in that equation, right? Because
absolutely.
if you're further along in your career, then at this point you're not trying to spend a ton of time, and you want to exercise some of the things that like you already skilled up in, degreed up in, whatever it is, you want to exercise those things in a different way. So I think that's amazing. For our college students, right, that are getting out of college, what would you recommend? Would you recommend the PMP for them?
I would. So they have the CAPM, and I will say I really don't believe in it. I didn't believe in it from the very beginning. I never knock education, but the reason I don't believe in it is because it doesn't have any weight. And I've had people that had their CAPM that are new out of school, and they were told, "Come back when you get the real thing." So it kind of stings. But people that are out of school, fresh out of school, you only need 3 years of experience. And I
Okay.
had somebody, she was out of school for 2 years, and her application actually got denied. And we were scratching our head trying to get that 3rd year. And I asked her, what did she do in undergrad, or what did she do, when she first got out of school? I asked her, was she Greek? She said she was an AKA. I was like, girl, I'm an AKA. You did a project. We took one of those projects. She was the chairperson. I want to say maybe she was the president or vice president of her chapter. And they revitalized the park. And I think
Oh
Home
wow.
Depot donated the equipment. It got published in the paper, local paper. We used that as a project and 2 years worth of work experience. So I would say you don't have to have this long, extensive career to get the PMP certification like everybody says. It's just reading is fundamental. It never said you had to have been paid for the work. It never
Mm.
said that. Now you cannot use your own wedding or things like that, but you didn't have to get paid for the work. It
Oh.
could be volunteer work.
Oh, that's a bar right there, and I'm so happy I asked the question because I'm sure people are listening and wondering as far as that application process goes. They just got a gem. And you don't have to get paid for the work, right? It just can't be your own personal work, but you
Correct.
don't have to get paid.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Man, thank you so much, Tamara, for being on the podcast today. And I always like to end the podcast because I like people to take away a nugget at the end. So if you could leave the audience with 5 words or less, what would your final 5 words be for the audience that if they don't remember anything else, they take this away from this episode?
So I know for a fact this is not trademark. We will not have to pay any money for this. But my one of my favorite quotes is, "Just do it."
Oh, I love it. And I'm a former athlete. I still coach basketball and I love Nike. I can't stop no matter what. Just do it. It's time to go, right? It's time
That's
to
it.
go. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I know you just blessed some more people and extended how you're helping close the wage gap for women by doing this work, as well as some men that get to join in as well. So
Yes,
we
yes.
we truly appreciate you. And to everybody listening, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you enjoyed our time and we'll see you next week.